All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to Whitetail Survival. Tonight I wanted to go over something that I picked up off of Amazon for a really good deal over the Black Friday slash Cyber Monday, that whole week sale they just had. This thing is pretty neat. As you can see back here behind me, I have a few more of these things. So there's an Enoflow. I have two Jackeries and a real small one. It's just slightly bigger than a power bank. But this thing was like $56, so I picked it up. I'm going to go through and test a couple things back here with these just to give you an idea of what you can use these for. We have to realize sometimes that survival isn't always going to be about little kits that you take out in the woods. Sometimes you're going to need to have some items to get you by through maybe a survival situation in your house. Maybe you lost power for a couple days and you just need a way to charge up your cell phone to call somebody. Or maybe you want to run some small appliances or heaters. So these are a really good way to be able to do some of them things without actually having to without actually having any power in your house. So if you're completely out of power, it would be nice to have a heat source. Not everybody has like a wood stove like I do, or not everybody can afford a generator that will power your entire house, a whole home or something like that. So something like this and a few blankets blocking some doorways and just some creativity can really save your life sometimes. So why don't we open this thing? I will do this real quick. I'm just going to open it and I'll fast forward through that. And then we'll get into it and I'll show you what all comes with it, and then we'll see what these can power. And I will go over each size that I have back there. I don't have anything too huge because I do have a big gas generator, but these things are really nice for when you need something to be quiet. You don't want any noise going out, or if you don't need to fire up that big generator just for a few hours, if you know the powers are going to only be out for a little bit. But being that it's winter time now and it's getting cold, we've had a few days in the teens, it's nice to have some backup supplies like this. So this one's fairly budget friendly. So why don't we get into opening this thing and I'll show you what all came in it. All right, now as you've seen, I packaged that up real quick. Here is everything that comes in that box. Here is the AC plug to the input. This will charge this power station up. This is a 12 volt to the input here for charging in your car. And then this is a DC out, basically, for if you have appliances that you can plug into 12 volts. So some little refrigerators and stuff run on, actually there's a bunch of stuff like mattress pumps and all kinds of things that plug into these. Way more than what you would think. Little refrigerators and stuff. But other than that, here are the specs for this thing. Model G200, 150 watt output, 10 amp DC output, and this thing's 97.68 watt hours. So lithium ion battery. That's pretty cool. Now, in the meantime, I did charge this thing up. You get one AC port. Here's the power button. Two DC outputs. Here is the input for the charging. Two Type A slots and one Type C slot. There is a fan here. And here is your power button. And I did charge this up after I opened it up. So there it is. And the first thing I wanted to show you is there is wireless charging on the top of this. So you just throw it on there and that starts charging right off the bat. So then it'll tell you right there, the DC is on right now. So here are some of the instructions. It'll tell you if you're putting out AC, putting out DC. Tells you if it's charging. Tells you the dimensions, how to hook some things up. So that is pretty cool. You can solar charge it from the cigarette lighter in your car, or plug it into a wall outlet. There's some of the specs. And it says right there, charging DC 15 volts, about 5 hours. There's some of the outputs. Just how everything works. So beyond that, I wanted to go through and we'll test a couple things, and then later on we're going to go over some of the other ones that I have back there. We'll go over each one, and if anybody's interested in picking up any of them, it's actually a really great idea. I'll be able to show you some of the things that it could power in a situation that if the power is out and you need to do something basic, or even if you just want to watch TV, you know, by yourself or with the kids or with your significant other, at least you have an idea of what size one of these you would need to do what you would want to do. So other than that, let's go over there and we're going to test this out on a couple things and see how it works. All right, so here we want to see if this thing is capable of charging the small things like this. Let's say you've been using your light and you're going to need this at night, so you're going to have to top it off before it gets too dark out. This is an O-light, one of my older ones. And this charger is a 1 amp, or it is 1.5 or 2 amps. So I'll turn this thing on, and we will plug this in here. As you can see, it has power. That's green. And let's say we use that all up, and now you drop that on there, and as you can see, that turned red. And that is charging right now. So we'll let it sit there for a couple seconds, and that thing is completely capable of charging a flashlight, which I assumed it would because this is 100 watt hours. And I think it's 150 milliamp. So that should work even for some bigger stuff. So let's start with that, and we'll move on to the next thing. So here we're going to get into our first AC product here, and this is a little mini washer. So if you had one of these, you know, if you were camping or something and needed to wash just a few clothes, you know, you can throw a couple items in here. It's about the size of a 5-gallon bucket. So let's see if this thing will power this. There is no rating on here at all of what this thing runs, so this will be our first test. So let's plug this thing in and see what it does. There's water in here, and just a couple little things in there. So let's close that up. We're going to plug this in here, and I am going to turn on the AC plug, and you heard the fan kick on, and this little washing machine just turned on. So why don't we see if this thing is higher or lower than 150 amps. So I'm just going to put it on to maybe, if I can get it to work. Can't remember which way. Long press for 2 seconds. So, it's doing its thing in there. Okay, so it's powering this thing just fine. It's spinning the little clothes that are in there. Just, it'll go to the right for so long, and then after that, it'll go to the left for a little while. It's still reading here. We still have power, so that's good. So that's just a proven test that it will power this. And this has a 10-minute cycle. As you can see, it must not be drawing that much because we're still at 100%. And it's been running, you know, for 30, 40 seconds. So that's pretty neat. So other than that, let's move on to the next thing. We'll see if it can power this fan over here. So here we are at our next station here, and this is one of them floor unit fans. It just goes back and forth, and this also has no rating on it. At least it doesn't have a amperage rating on here. So I'll look for it. So let's try this thing next. I can't imagine it could be drawing too much. So let's plug this thing in here. I'll slide that back in. I'm gonna put this on 1 to start. And it is blowing, slowly speeding up there. So far you could wash in something small like that. This thing's not very big. It's not going to power up, you know, a full-size washer or a full-size refrigerator or something like that, but running a fan like this, that's gonna work. Let's turn it up. So there it is on medium, and it's blowing fairly well. Some of this stuff is pretty dusty. It's been put away for a little while. I don't really use this stuff too often, so let's bump it up to 3. So this is the highest output that this fan can put out, and it's blowing a pretty good stream of air there. And that's pretty good. And the only other feature this has is to run the small motor. So we lost 1% on there, but we are running a fan, and we did run that little washer. I imagine that's a little harder to run than this. So as you can see, it will run this for a little while, I would imagine. I can't imagine this thing is using up too much power. So why don't we move on to the TV? A lot of people are going to be bored, got kids. Maybe all you need is to power the TV up. So I'm going to run back there, and we're going to try this TV. As you can see here, I brought the plug out around, and I brought it back down from where it was plugged in. We're plugged in, we have power to the TV, so let's turn this thing on and see if it's going to run. And as you can see there, TV's on and running. So if you guys would like to see me do a full test to see how long it will run this TV, I can put something like this on and just let this thing play until it drains and just put a timer on it. So just let me know down in the comments if you would like me to do that. But as for now, the TV is on, running solely off this. And you see I can get it right on here and go through the videos here, and seems like it'll be just fine. So works. So let's move on to the next thing. So here, I think this is going to be developing to one of our first problems. This has a rating, as I said earlier, of right there. You can see it says G200, and it says 150 watts. This unit here says it's 250 watts. So this does have protection, it says. So let's plug this thing in, and we'll see what happens when we flick it on. So it is starting to output some air. And it is starting to output some hot air. And actually is blowing hot air. So now that is starting to drain the power out of it, but I can hear the fans running here on the AC port. But I'm surprised that this little unit is running this heater. So if you had to, in emergency, heat up a small area for a little bit of time, this little unit is going to do it. But as you can see, you're not going to get a very long time out of it. I mean, we're dropping percentages by, you know, every minute or so, we're dropping a percentage. So it must have a peak rating that is higher than that 150. That must be like that must be the lower end of the spectrum there, and it must have a higher output just for short periods of time. But that thing is on and fully heated up. But as you can see, you're probably only going to get, you know, less than an hour out of this heater. So I'm going to shut this thing off. And I am actually impressed with this, that it is still on. So the fan is on now, and that means this thing got a little bit hot, so it's pushing some of that hot air out. So I'm going to take a minute and we'll move on to the next thing. So here's the next thing I have here. This is a single burner, and this is guaranteed to kick this thing off. Wow, this is turned up the entire way. This is 1,000 watts. So this is only rated for 150, even though it did run that 250 watt heater. So let's plug this thing in and let's see if we can use it on low. So there we are. The fan is still on, and we're just going to turn this to 1. And that fan's kicking on and off, a little slow. And that is on 1. And you know, it is actually heating up. So, yeah, so what it did is it's not even allowing this to turn on. I just noticed the AC started flashing on there, so that must be telling us that it is not going to power this, which means it's not going to power the coffee pot, and it's not going to power the microwave, and it's definitely not going to power the space heater. So that is where we're going to end this test. If you can think of anything else you would like me to test with this little unit, just let me know. It'll run like a table lamp or a small lamp you would put in your corner. I just don't have any of them in my house. But other than that, if you think of anything you would like me to test out with it, just let me know in the comments. Alrighty. So there's a couple things I did forget to mention about this little unit. And one is that this does have 2 handles for carrying, but it is flat on top, so it would be nice to be able to stack something on top of this if you needed to. Plus, that is the magnetic charging for your phone. And the other thing I forgot to mention is that this has a light. It's an extremely floody light. And then I'm going to give you a strobe warning because the next mode it has is a strobe, so that is going to come on right now. So there you have a strobe. The next thing, it has a SOS mode. So that's pretty neat, but for the most part, you probably would be using this flood, and it is very bright. It does put out a lot of light. It's actually pretty impressive. So, other than that, if you would like me to test this out on anything, just let me know. It don't take me but a minute to plug this in and turn it on. I can just make a video with all the comments of testing this, and then I would like to compare this to my Jackery, which is like the next size up. We're going to try to do that same test with everything, and I'm pretty sure that the Enoflow I have over there is 720 watt hours. I'm pretty sure it will run everything that's sitting up there. So this is the first test, starting off small. And the very last thing I'm going to do with all of these is I'm going to take them out to my diesel heater in my shed, and we're going to see how long each one of these will run at 40 watts. They're all capable of running at 40. That thing has to have 150 watts to fire it up, and then it will run 30 to 40 watts depending on where you have it for until the thing dies. So we're going to try each one of these out on that and see how long we have. So other than that, thanks for watching. Like I said, give me some comments Subscribe if you haven't. There is more survival stuff coming, more survival kits, and I really do appreciate every single comment, every single view. So thanks for watching, and we will catch you again on the next one.